As a heads up, we're only using stills of Star Trek content in this video as Paramount keeps copyrighting our videos. If you do want to support our work, please click the link to our Patreon below. Last week, someone complained that because I was wearing something Star Trek related, we must be paid by Paramount for these reviews. So great news, this week I'm wearing nothing Star Trek related. Okay, jokes aside, let's get into this. Honestly, I love this episode. Star Trek Starfleet Academy finally returns to the series' main arc in this week's episode, which is titled Come, Let's Fly Away. No, it's Come, Let's Away. Yeah. Now, there was immediate echoes of the bloody and treacherous end of Shakespeare's King Lear. This episode was written by Kenneth and Kiley Rossetter. It sees the show's cadets run into trouble during a training exercise on a derelict ship. Meanwhile, Captain Archie resorts to depths she never thought she could reach to save her students. There are old enemies on the horizon with an ever-present sense of danger. Will Archie be able to save her cadets before it's too late? How far will she go to bring them home? Or will it be the cadets themselves who save the day? All of this and more in this week's episode of Star Trek Starfleet Academy. Let's find out how it went down. Hey everyone, I'm Captain Jack and this is Trek Central. Make sure to comment your thoughts on the latest episode of Starfleet Academy in the comments, no matter if you love it or hated it. Get commenting. Though, let's keep things respectful, please. Spoiler warning, we're discussing this episode in full, so if you've not watched it, please keep that in mind as you might have a spoiler, so, or just keep watching, I don't mind. This episode opens with a non-diegetic song named UFO by Olivia Dean. It's not something I'm against the franchise doing, but it's hard not to point out how unusual it is. Between this and the Wainwright needle drop in the premiere, the licensed music is something that Starfleet Academy, in particular, seems to have adopted. On the bright side, a song about the intricate complexities of love definitely fits the interspecies action happening on screen. There's no way around it. Even while tamed by the standards of a broader entertainment landscape, this is perhaps the most sexually explicit that Star Trek has gotten. But actually discussing and respecting those cultural and biological differences, bridged by genuine love and affection, was handled really well. For a franchise that's all about respecting these differences, this was great. While Caleb is human, Terima is not. As a Betazoid, and a powerful one at that, she brings a strong psychological element to the scene. Through a bond with Caleb, she can delve into his childhood memories, and we get an echo of the first episode. Beyond being a well-directed sequence, with the expansive flower field being quite pretty, the following discussion on boundaries and expectations was also really respectful. I'll be honest, I'm not super keen on the overly sexual explicit nature and the romance being a big thing in my Star Trek. However, it clearly fits with what Academy is trying to do in it aiming at a newest audience. I will say, towards the end of this review, and we'll recap a bit more, I think this episode kind of gives everyone a little bit of something. And I mean every type of fan. Obviously, I'm not keen on the romance stuff, but the rest of the episode I did quite enjoy with the action and the suspense and the intrigue and things like that. So, if you can work your way through bits like this, I think you get what you want. And it kind of works. I like that. Maybe this is a wider discussion we need to have another time. After the sweetly named USS Mizaki is boarded by the Furies during the Cadets training exercise, the episode really begins. By the way, I'm definitely going to mess up at some point and call them the Furries. They're not Furries, it's the Furies. It's easy to do, okay? The costumes and prosthetics are gorgeous, with the horror really brought up by the minimal lighting throughout most of their screen time. Even on the auditory level, their communications are so unsettling, especially the credit sequence of this episode. Watch the whole credits, you'll see what I mean. I would be disappointed if this was their sole appearance in the series, especially after the end credits' horrifying soundscape like I just mentioned. Speaking of the USS Mizaki, I think this might be a reference to the creator of Studio Ghibli. Maybe? We'll need to double check this. Still, it's really cool to see another, basically different type of starship used in this era of the Star Trek universe. 10 points for not reusing another design we've already seen, like the Credence type or the 32nd century Connie again. I'll let off the use of the Intrepid class. Of course, the Furies are not the only villain this week. After being advertised as the main antagonist and being absent half the season, Paul Giamatti returns as Nus Braka. He's brought in as a sort of ally, in air quotes, to see if he can be any use of dispatching the Furies. Being Braka, however, he does something far more sinister in mind. Where Hunter was in control in the premiere episode, Giamatti owns this scenes. Both of these actors work with each other really well. I'm glad they didn't try to make him redeemable, as he doubles down on the depravity and insanity. This episode re-establishes him as a menace after how seemingly easy he was dispatched in the series premiere. While its return was spoiled by both promotional material and the episode's opening credits, it still managed to be exciting. Honestly, I can't wait to see what he's going to be up to for the series finale. We know it's heading in that direction. Meanwhile, on the USS Mizaki, the cadets are in a lot of danger. Despite Arky's efforts on the Athena to organize a rescue plan, it is a psychic connection between Caleb and Terima that ultimately saves them. After the character spotlights of the last few weeks, seeing the cadets help themselves has got a lot more dramatic weight to it. Even after the death of Bobby, which is played by Alexander Elling, ends up packing a punch, and I was kind of disappointed to see him going. Speaking of him, which is likely a longer, separate discussion, the use of comic books was really well done. These Tales of the Frontier are such a part of a propaganda network as the war comics of the Golden Age. Having Caleb reject it as state propaganda, while Bobby found it inspirational, raises interesting questions about the line of entertainment and propaganda, or rather, between entertainment and propaganda. I do wish the episode had lingered with this more, but as is, it's already quite morally crowded, and maybe it's a part of a longer discussion we'll have at some point. The ingenuity to seal themselves on the ship's bridge and activate the shields may not have defeated the Furies, but it did buy them time. Defeating the Furies took the uninhibited powers of Terima. Between her heroic call to action here and the emotional depth of the intimacy scene earlier, this is definitely Steiner's episode. Watching her plow through the horde of Furies was satisfying, and the coma she found herself in only kind of served to add to the hopelessness that the episode ended on. Still, we got a lot of character development for her character, learning that she's the one who caused her father's deafness, really interesting and quite deep at the same time. I've also got to say, the bits of the cadets on the bridge and such, and the entire ship works really well. This ship looks fantastic, by the way, and we'll definitely talk about it another time. Secondly, we are getting hints of a romance between Jaden Krag, the Klingon, and Kyle, the War College cadet. I might have been a third. Regardless, this relationship is not being shoved down people's throats. It is a blink and you'll miss it type of scene. It has been hinted to, but it's not like we've gone and spent a lot of time on it. Star Trek highlighting LGBT relationships isn't new, it's something that's done for decades now, if not longer. So the fact we're getting a little bit here again seems perfectly fine. It's a relationship that's kind of being hinted between two people. It should not be that shocking. And I think that if they continue to build on this in a nice little way, it should go about rather organically, I think. And we kind of see it forming here a little bit. And I'm kind of happy it's going this way, I'll be honest. Again, going back to what I said earlier, I'm not big on romance and relationships in my Star Trek. However, you know, I don't mind some of this. It works sometimes. I'll be interested to see where this goes. Yeah, do let me know what you think of it. I'm pretty open to discussions on it. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Relationship between a Klingon and a male human, kind of interesting. Despite everyone credited in the intro surviving, it's hard to argue that Starfleet actually won this week. This was Bracca's big return, and he left naught but chaos and destruction in his wake. Truman's telepathy expenditure, as glorious as it was to display for Betazoid capability, has left it in a critical condition. Not to mention the disabling of the USS Sargasso, the massacre at Starbase J-19, or the fact that Arky seems to blame herself for all of this. Speaking of which, we do get a mention of the USS Discovery, and we know she's still out there helping survivors of J-19, so good news for Discovery fans. Now, Arky is somewhat comforted by Admiral Vance, played by Oded Fair, who tries to shield her from blame. It's a touching scene as he seems to comfort this crushed figure that he convinced back into Starfleet to bring hope to the next generation. Big shout out to Oded Fair here. This ending moment of Arky really showed the frustration in Admiral Vance, and a side of a character we've not really seen before. I would like to see Vance in the captain's chair one day, commanding his own ship, maybe in the season final, because I think he would do really well as a captain. While all the massacring happened off screen, Hunter's performance of devastation is enough to sell it after the deception we've witnessed over the last hour. It hits the emotional beats well here. I can't wait to see how they reverberate through the coming episodes. The fact I viscerally hated Brackett as he returned virtually to brag and tease another return is indicative of how good Giamatti is in this role. With the mysterious experimental technology he's stolen, anything goes for what this return will ultimately entail. Needless to say, it tees up the final really quite well. After this week's crushing defeat for the Federation, I'm left wanting the next episode now. Any criticisms I have of this episode kind of feel like nitpicks and something I personally don't like, but hey, that's Star Trek. This was a great mid-season episode that tees up a massive scale finale. After being defeated in the first episode, Brock established himself as a manipulative force to be reckoned with. Backed by Giamatti's scene-chewing performance, it's a delight to watch. Not only that, but cadets were in a very real-world danger here, and seeing them work together now we've gotten to know them is kind of better, I think. This episode was a bloodbath where injuries and death have real weight. Even the interpersonal drama felt like it was building, in particular for Terima. The creators have elevated the series dramatically, making it far bigger than I anticipated. Under Holly Hunter's star power, the impact is felt even when the action is off screen. Regardless to say, I'm very excited to see how the back half of the season does play out when we get around to it. Alright everyone, that's a wrap on this episode review. Like always, make sure to share your thoughts in the comments below. Did you love this episode or hate it? Comment away. But remember, in the spirit of Star Trek, please stay respectful. Because come on, that's a good ask. Like always, if you want to keep up to date on the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. For now, I've been Captain Jack. I can't wait to bring you the next episode of you and more Star Trek videos. Don't forget, you can support us on Patreon and it is greatly appreciated. As always, thanks for watching our Star Trek videos. Live long and prosper, my friends, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.